Hello, movie lovers. Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into the strange but true stories from Hollywood's golden age. Ready to uncover the bizarre secrets lurking behind all the glamour? Join me as we reveal these shocking truths. Ever wondered what really lay beneath the sparkle of Hollywood's golden age? Forget fairy tales. Today, we're diving into some of the strangest secrets ever told. Get ready to explore haunting, outside-the-box stories where truth proves to be far stranger than fiction. Before we dive into these shocking secrets, quick question. Do any of your friends love classic movies? If yes, drop a 1 in the comments. If not, leave a 0. Now sit back and enjoy this surprising video. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out on more fascinating discoveries from the world of cinema. To achieve the vibrant, vivid colors that grace the big screen in the golden age of cinema, Hollywood actors had to endure a grueling and sometimes painful technicolor filming process. The advanced 3-band technicolor camera required an enormous amount of light, creating stifling temperatures on set, sometimes exceeding 100 degrees, or 38 degrees C. Actors had to work continuously under the bright lights, which damaged their eyes and led to severe dehydration. The strangest part was the special makeup, called technicolor makeup, or pancake. This was not ordinary cosmetics, but actually a specially formulated industrial paint that was applied directly to the actor's skin. The colors used were also extremely strange. Bright green for the men and brick red for the women. In person, the actors looked like strange creatures, but when filmed in Technicolor, they magically transformed into natural skin tones. Actors of the time often described themselves as looking like zombies or aliens between takes, completely unfit to appear in public with this bizarre makeup. The makeup was so thick and toxic that it required strong industrial solvents to remove it, causing damage and burns to the skin. Even more alarmingly, studios required actors to sign health waivers, acknowledging the risk of temporary vision loss, skin discoloration, and heat exhaustion during the grueling Technicolor shoot. Rita Hayworth, the sex goddess of the 1940s, was not born the glamorous model the public had come to see. Born Margarita Carmen Cancino, she was Hispanic-American with dark skin and thick black hair. But Hollywood at the time did not accept a star with foreign beauty. To transform her into the perfect Anglo-Saxon icon, the studios made her electro-bleach her scalp, dye her hair red permanently, and even surgically alter her hairline. Behind the glamour was a young woman stripped of her identity, rebuilt from scratch to suit market tastes. A painful sacrifice that audiences never saw. Despite her stellar career and millions of admirers, Rita Hayworth's personal life was filled with tragedy. She was married to the famous director Orson Welles, but the marriage quickly fell apart. Her third husband, Prince Ali Khan, made her a princess, but left her soon after. Loneliness, depression, and early-onset Alzheimer's disease led Rita to gradually retreat from the spotlight into oblivion. More heartbreakingly, for a long time, many people thought she was drunk or mentally unstable instead of realizing that she was battling a terrible disease. Rita Hayworth is not only a cinematic icon, but also a prime example of how Hollywood can mold and then abandon the most fragile souls. Alfred Hitchcock, the master of horror films, is renowned for his ability to create breathtaking moments of tension on screen. However, few people know that he also possessed a strange and haunting obsession that crept into many of his works, an obsession with refrigerators and their dark potential as cold murder instruments or creepy places to store corpses. This bizarre interest went beyond research for films and became a strange personal passion that left those who worked with him feeling creeped out. Hitchcock is said to have secretly collected a disturbing collection of photographs and newspaper articles detailing tragic refrigerator-related deaths and gruesome murders in which refrigerators played a pivotal role. He carefully kept them in a special file that he coldly referred to as his cooling time. During the production of the classic horror film Psycho, the talented director even requested that a real refrigerator be brought to the set. Interestingly, the refrigerator never appeared in any of the film's scenes. Instead, Hitchcock would regularly open it between takes and stare thoughtfully into its contents, a bizarre act that left the entire cast and crew feeling uneasy and creepy. On the set of Rear Window, Hitchcock's strange obsession continued to manifest itself in more bizarre ways. He reportedly directed the props department to fill the prop refrigerator with increasingly spoiled food throughout filming. Hitchcock regularly checked on the progress of the decomposition process and even photographed the grisly changes. Perhaps most bizarre of all was his rumored habit of arriving at dinner parties with a special gift for the host. Detailed sketches of how their ordinary refrigerator could be modified to become the perfect place to preserve human remains. The strangest story in Hollywood Oscar history may belong to the late great actor James Dean. He achieved the bizarre and macabre honor of being nominated for the prestigious Academy Award posthumously. What makes this story particularly bizarre is not only the posthumous honor, but also the elaborate and bizarre efforts the studio went to in order to promote a deceased actor during the awards campaign. After James Dean's tragic death in a car accident in September 1955, Warner Brothers found themselves in a difficult situation with the completed but unreleased film Giant. Rather than attempt to downplay the absence of their deceased star, they decided to launch what many consider a bizarre and unprecedented Oscar campaign in Hollywood history. The studio reportedly hired an actor who could imitate Dean's distinctive voice to record interviews about his performance in Giant. These fake interviews were then played on radio stations as if James Dean were still alive and excitedly discussing his role. Not stopping there, Warner Brothers is said to have created a life-size wax figure of James Dean to display at special screenings of the film. The creepy figure was placed in the theater lobby as if the actor himself were present at the premiere of his final work. The most bizarre of all was the studio's James Dean Speaks from the Dead marketing campaign. The promotional materials vaguely implied that Dean's spirit was somehow transmitting his wish to be honored with an Oscar from the afterlife. This bizarre marketing campaign eventually helped James Dean receive an Oscar nomination for Best Actor for his role in Giant in 1957, more than a year after he left this world forever. Olive Thomas was once considered one of the most beautiful women of the 1910s. With her big, sparkling eyes and enchanting face, she quickly emerged from advertising photos to become a famous movie star under the Selznick studio. But behind the image of a silver screen goddess was a chaotic life. Married to Jack Pickford, the younger brother of Mary Pickford, her marriage was filled with alcohol, drugs, and lavish parties. The couple were famous for their debauchery, frequent quarrels, and love scandals. In 1920, at the age of 25, Olive was found dying in a Paris hotel after ingesting mercury bichloride, the drug Jack used to treat venereal disease. She died shortly afterwards, and her death quickly became a hot topic in the newspapers. Some said she committed suicide because of love, others said it was poisoning or even murder. Although the official cause was an accident, many questions remained about her troubled relationship with Jack Pickford and the involvement of studios trying to cover up the scandal. Olive Thomas's death was not only a personal tragedy, but also one of the most haunting mysteries in Hollywood, where fame and tragedy often go hand in hand. Carl "Alfalfa" Switzer, the spiky-haired, mischievous boy who became a part of the childhood memories of generations through the Little Rascals series, had a tragic and strange end to his life, a cruel testament to the dark side of Hollywood. Instead of the laughter and adorable antics on screen, Switzer's life ended abruptly and painfully in a seemingly pointless argument, all because of a dog. In 1959, with the Hollywood spotlight fading, Switzer turned to making a living as a dog trainer and hunting guide. The bizarre chain of events that led to his death began when Switzer helped a client find his lost hunting dog and then claimed what he thought was a reward. In a drunken rage, Switzer went to the dog's owner, Moses Stilts, to demand more money. The argument quickly escalated into a violent fight. According to witnesses during the struggle, Switzer pulled out a knife, and Stilts, in a panic, grabbed a nearby gun and fired a fatal shot into the lower abdomen of the former child star. Carl "Alfalfa" Switzer breathed his last on the way to the hospital due to excessive blood loss, with the painful words, "I've been shot." The passing of a once familiar face on the big screen did not receive much attention from the media. What is even more strange and ironic is that Moses Stilts was later acquitted on the grounds of self-defense. And decades later, the very spot where Carl "Alfalfa" Switzer was shot to death has become home to an alfalfa souvenir shop. Many tourists and shoppers who visit this place are completely unaware of the tragic history that once took place in the very place they are standing, creating a strange and sobering contrast between the dark past and the idyllic present. Marlene Dietrich was more than just a movie star. She was the embodiment of rebellion, glamour, and freedom in an era full of convention. When she appeared on screen in The Blue Angel, 1930, her cool beauty and androgynous style captivated the world. Dietrich often wore suits, smoked cigarettes, and openly reversed her gender in public, something that was rare and even considered taboo in Hollywood at that time. Rumors about her same-sex relationships with many stars, such as Greta Garbo or Mercedes de Acosta, once caused film studios to have to deal with the problem to avoid scandal. Few people know that, off-screen, Marlene Dietrich also participated in intelligence activities for the United States during World War II. A native of Germany, she refused to make Nazi propaganda films and chose American citizenship. According to many later documents, she even sent codes to the Allies, used her fame to gain access to sources, and performed near the front lines to boost morale. Both a movie queen and a semi-official intelligence icon, Dietrich's life story is a strange story that goes beyond what Hollywood could ever imagine. A living testament to the fact that sometimes the off-screen truth is more exciting than any script. With his elegant appearance, refined demeanor, and charming voice, Cary Grant was considered the perfect gentleman of classic Hollywood. But beneath that neat suit was a man full of contradictions and mysteries. Born in England as Archibald Leach, Grant grew up without his mother, whom he believed to be dead, but who had actually been committed to a mental hospital by his father. The truth was only discovered in adulthood, leaving him with a great psychological shock. Throughout his career, Cary Grant was haunted by his true identity and often doubted his conformity to the image Hollywood had imposed on him. Few people know that Cary Grant was one of the first Hollywood stars to openly use LSD for psychotherapy, on the advice of his doctor. He believed that this drug helped him rebirth and release childhood trauma. In addition, Grant's love life was also a controversial topic. Although he had been married 5 times to women, he was rumored to have had a deep relationship with actor Randolph Scott. The two lived together and had many intimate photos that caused a stir in the press at that time. Grant never confirmed or denied, just quietly kept silent about the rumors. The contradiction between his public image and his personal life made Cary Grant one of the most strange but real characters in the history of classic Hollywood. In the 1950s, when Marilyn Monroe became an irreplaceable sex symbol, movie studios sought to create copycats to exploit this model. Mamie Van Doren was one of them. With her platinum hair, wasp waist, and seductive acting style, she was signed to Universal Pictures as the next Marilyn. But strangely, her career was almost scripted from the beginning. From the way she dressed, the way she smiled, to being assigned mediocre roles that served her image as a sex bomb rather than a real acting talent. Van Doren publicly criticized the studio system for turning her into a consumer product, rather than a true artist. What set Mamie Van Doren apart wasn't her looks. It was her boldness and candor, rare for her time. She wrote a memoir that revealed relationships with a host of powerful figures, from U.S. presidents to sports stars, shattering the Pearl Girl image that Hollywood had always tried to create for actresses. Van Doren was also one of the few women in early Hollywood who spoke openly about abuse, sexism, and hypocrisy in the entertainment industry. Though she never reached the heights of Monroe or Jane Mansfield, Mamie Van Doren was a real oddity, a living testament to the struggle to survive in a Hollywood system that created legends and then discarded them. Charlie Chaplin is a global icon of silent cinema, known for his oversized shoes and crooked cane. But behind his goofy, comical exterior was a man full of contradictions, eccentricities, and controversy. Chaplin was an extreme perfectionist. He would reshoot a simple scene hundreds of times just because the shadows weren't exactly what he wanted. He wrote, directed, produced, and even composed the music for his films. However, this absolute control alienated many of his collaborators, who considered him an artistic dictator. Chaplin's love life was not only eccentric in art, but also freaked out Hollywood. He was famous for his preference for dating and marrying underage girls. His first wife was only 16 when they married him, and he was sued for fathering an unwanted child with an underage mistress. In addition, Chaplin was listed as dangerous by the U.S. government because of his left-wing political views. During the McCarthy era, he was suspected of being a communist and forced to leave the U.S. in 1952. Although he was never convicted, he was never granted a visa to return until near the end of his life. Chaplin died in 1977 in Switzerland, but the strange story did not end there. Just a few months later, his body was stolen from a cemetery to extort money from his family. The case shocked Europe, leading to a police hunt for weeks. Eventually, the two grave robbers were caught, and Chaplin's body was reburied, this time in concrete, to prevent it from being resurrected again. Charlie Chaplin's life is a strange combination of artistic genius, personal scandal, and thrilling stories that seem like they only happen in movies, but are completely true in Hollywood history. In the 1920s, Clara Bow was more than just a star. She was a phenomenon. With her innocent charm and daring, she became an icon of the jazz age and Hollywood's first it girl. But behind that image was a haunting childhood, a mentally ill mother who tried to kill her in her sleep, and a neglectful and allegedly abusive father. Clara burst onto Hollywood like a bolt from the blue, with no formal education, no guardians, just a favorite camera face and wild energy. She quickly became famous for her outspoken lifestyle, her unconventional behavior, and her statements that broke with the era's hypocritical norms. Clara Bow was the subject of all manner of bizarre rumors. All-night parties, threesomes, involvements with baseball players, and even a false accusation of hosting a sex party in her private mansion. Most of it was fabricated, but the tabloids of the time were free to spin it because she didn't bother to refute it. When she moved to talkies, her career faltered because her thick Brooklyn accent didn't fit Hollywood standards. Add to that anxiety, mental instability, and the pressure of fame, and she was forced to retire from the industry in her early 30s, at the height of her fame, but emotionally draining. After leaving Hollywood, Clara Bow became a recluse and largely disappeared from public view. She was hospitalized for mental illness, and for years, no one knew where she was or what she was doing. One of the strangest stories is that Hollywood, which once worshipped her, was the first to turn its back on her when she fell apart. From the heights of her first it girl to the shadows of oblivion, Clara Bow is a living testament to the cruelty of the spotlight. A shining and tragic icon, it shows that sometimes the strangest thing about Hollywood is how it treats the people who made its history. The Hollywood king with the charming smile in films like Gone with the Wind made women swoon. But that smile hid the truth. At age 32, Clark Gable had lost most of his teeth and had to wear full dentures due to severe gum disease, stemming from poor childhood nutrition and poor oral hygiene. MGM deemed this unacceptable for a romantic lead. MGM concocted an elaborate cover-up, creating custom dentures for Clark Gable, worth the equivalent of $60,000 today. The pain from the dentures was said to be the cause of his bad breath, which many of his co-stars complained about but were forbidden to reveal publicly. Even more shocking, the studio ordered the destruction of all photographic evidence of Clark Gable's pre-denture smile, spending thousands of dollars to purchase and burn early promotional photos. Gable's wife, Harold Lombard, was even known for playing pranks on his dentures, once reportedly dropping them into a surprised producer's glass at a studio party. Few people know that the lovely little Dorothy of The Wizard of Oz had to go through terrible days behind the stage lights. At MGM Studio, under the strict control of boss Louis B. Mayer, Judy Garland's childhood was deprived of her obsession with weight. She was forced to follow a strange diet: chicken soup to keep her alive, bitter black coffee, cigarettes to trick her hunger, and dangerous diet pills. Even more frightening, it was amphetamine, which sowed the seeds of addiction, haunting her throughout her life. The control was even more insane with MGM's special diet contract, a legal document that allowed the studio to punish Garland if she gained weight. Studio employees became prison guards, monitoring her every bite, day and night. A manager was even assigned to stand guard outside the restaurant's restroom just to make sure she couldn't vomit. The cruelest part was when the studio arranged for a doctor to lock her jaw to prevent her from eating. On the set of The Wizard of Oz, 16-year-old Judy Garland had to struggle in a tight corset just to have a slim figure on screen, even though her weight was completely normal for her age. Hollywood is famous for its bizarre pranks, but perhaps none can compare to the story of the legendary John Barrymore's last appearance. The star, a member of a famous acting family, is remembered not only for his acting talent, but also for his eccentric behavior that few can match. However, his last performance in the film capital is a story so bizarre it's hard to believe, because it happened right after he passed away in 1942. To commemorate their talented but also weird friend, a group of close friends came up with a unique idea: a joke of a lifetime. According to many witnesses, including director Raoul Walsh, they boldly borrowed Barrymore's body from the morgue before the funeral took place. This mischievous group of friends, said to have included famous names such as Errol Flynn and W.C. Fields, carefully placed Barrymore's motionless body on a chair in Walsh's living room. Picture the scene. Errol Flynn comes home drunk late at night and is surprised to find the familiar figure of John Barrymore sitting silently in the dark room. The shock probably nearly causes him to have a heart attack before the irony and bizarre truth sinks in. While some details of the story remain disputed, multiple reliable sources have confirmed that some version of this bizarre prank actually happened, becoming an unlikely Hollywood legend, inspiring scenes in S.O.B. 1981, and even prompting Peter Sellers to express his desire for a similar prank to be played on his body after his death. John Ford was one of the greatest directors of classic Hollywood, the man behind masterpieces such as The Grapes of Wrath, Stagecoach, and The Searchers. But behind the 6 Oscars was a strange, eccentric, and often confusing man. He was known for being quiet, wearing sunglasses indoors, and for physically and mentally torturing his actors to get them to act exactly the way he wanted. For Ford, movies were battlefields, and the set was no different from the barracks. He would ignore producers, even writing scripts on napkins or making up dialogue on the spot, then telling the actors to feel them without asking too many questions. One of the strangest things about John Ford was the split between the person he was in real life and the image he portrayed on screen. While he often praised the values of family, loyalty, and honor on screen, he was aloof, prone to alcoholism, and prone to psychological abuse of his closest collaborators, particularly actor John Wayne. Ford once turned to his lead actor after filming an emotional scene and coldly said, "Don't think you're so good, I just cut it to make it look better." The genius and the weirdness coexisted in John Ford, making him one of the most bizarre and unpredictable legends in Hollywood history. Before Marilyn Monroe or Madonna were making waves with their daring, Mae West was a pioneer. She emerged in the 1920s as an actress, a writer, a director, and a stage star, with a provocative style that was unprecedented for her time. In a conservative society, Mae West dared to write a play called Sex and perform it publicly, which led to her being arrested and jailed for 8 days for inciting debauchery. But strangely enough, it was this scandal that made her famous. When she entered Hollywood, she transformed herself into a strange feminist character, gorgeous, brazen, and unrivaled in intelligence. Her famous line, "When I'm good, but when I'm bad, I'm better." Mae West was so iconic that the U.S. Navy nicknamed her life jacket Mae West because of her curvaceous shape. The height of her strangeness was her living in a Hollywood penthouse designed like a temple to Venus, complete with mirrors, Roman columns, and even rumors that she talked to the ghost of George Raft. She was still acting, wearing tight clothes, and dating men decades her junior at the age of 80. Hollywood may have tried to censor her, but it never controlled her. Mae West was more than just a real freak. She was proof that women could make their own rules, even when the rest of the world tried to stop them. Lillian Gish was known as the First Lady of American cinema, but behind her fragile, innocent appearance on screen was a person of such iron will that it was scary. During the silent film era, director D.W. Griffith often forced his actresses to endure harsh conditions to create real emotions. Gish was once forced to immerse her hands in cold water in the middle of winter until her skin went numb. In Way Down East, 1920, she had to lie on real ice while the water rushed over her face, almost freezing to death. The strange thing is that she never complained. In fact, she was proud that she could sacrifice herself to make true art. For Gish, pain was just a tool to reach greatness. Lillian Gish had a career spanning over 70 years, from black and white silent films to color films with sound. But the most controversial thing happened after her death. Because she starred in The Birth of a Nation, 1915, a film considered racist, her name was removed from a university lecture hall in 2019, despite the fact that she did not compose the film and maintained a standard image throughout her life. This caused a fierce debate about judging artists by the times they lived. Lillian Gish, who endured cold, hunger, and danger to devote herself to art, was caught up in an equally strange posterity drama. A great icon, and also proof that even the angels of cinema cannot avoid the darkness of time. Thelma Todd, the beautiful and talented comedian who graced the big screen alongside the Marx Brothers and Laurel and Hardy, has unexpectedly found herself embroiled in one of the most bizarre and haunting unsolved mysteries in Hollywood history. Her sudden and mysterious death has sown suspicion and conspiracy theories that have persisted for decades. On the fateful morning of December 16, 1935, Thelma Todd was found dead in her car, parked in the basement garage of the restaurant she owned. The official cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning. However, the bizarre and chilling details surrounding the incident have turned it into a never-ending controversy. Todd had attended a party the night before, and when she was found, she was still wearing her gorgeous purple-silver evening gown, a luxurious velvet coat, and expensive diamond jewelry. But strangely, her beautiful face was covered in blood, and there were clear signs that her body had been moved after her death. The garage where the car was parked was locked from the outside. Todd's car keys were mysteriously missing, and the position of her body was said to be unlikely to have caused the injuries herself. In addition, the beautiful actress also received death threats from notorious gangster Lucky Luciano, who wanted to take over her restaurant to open a casino, and her ex-husband still holds shares in her company. Have you ever heard any strange behind-the-scenes stories from classic movies? Share a story in the comments section to kick off today's mystery party. Now let's explore the unique outside-the-frame stories. Don't forget to drop a like if you feel wow, and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any drama from the world of classic cinema. What is most suspicious is the way the case was quickly closed as an accident, despite numerous inconsistencies and unexplained irregularities. Many historians believe that pressure from the major studios influenced the investigation, as Todd's death, a rising star at Hal Roach Studios, threatened several projects in the works. For decades afterward, rumors that her body was actually found elsewhere and moved to cover up a murder have lingered in the shadows of Hollywood. And speaking of terrible studio pressures, the story that follows reveals another strange wave of tragedy, as the transition to sound had consequences that Hollywood moguls tried to hide from the public. When sound revolutionized the film industry in the late 1920s, it did more than simply change the way stories were told on the big screen. The revolution set in motion a series of strange and tragic events, secrets that the powerful studios of the time tried to bury under a veil of false glamour. The major studio publicity departments worked day and night to cover up the fact that silent film stars failed to make the transition to the sound era. Their voices were either too thick, too harsh, or they suffered from incurable speech problems. Rather than face a ruined career, some of them are said to have met mysterious, tragic ends. Perhaps the strangest case is that of Hungarian actor Victor Varkony, who resorted to a bizarre and dangerous method of voice training, holding marbles in his mouth for hours every day in a desperate attempt to eliminate his distinctive accent. Ironically, this very effort nearly cost him his life during a suffocating rehearsal. Swedish actor Einar Hansen, another tragic story tinged with mystery, revolves around Swedish actor Einar Hansen. Realizing that his voice would put an end to his Hollywood dreams, he was rumored to have driven off a cliff. However, powerful studios were quick to cover up the truth with a brief statement of an unfortunate accident, burying the personal tragedy under the glitz of the industry. Even stranger was the existence of voice doubles, a secret that Hollywood kept under wraps for decades. Silent film stars with unstable voices would only perform physically on camera, while anonymous voice actors would hide behind the scenes to perform their lines. In the rare cases recorded, this brutal truth caused severe psychological shock to the actors. When they first heard their new voices at movie premieres, at least 2 people are said to have collapsed completely, rushed out of the theater in despair, and even contemplated self-harm when they realized the huge difference between their on-screen voices and their real ones. One of the strangest but little-known secrets of Golden Age Hollywood is the existence of the so-called MGM Dwarf Village. It wasn't just a movie set. It was a special residential area built by MGM specifically to house the dwarf actors who starred in productions like The Wizard of Oz. Nestled near MGM's sprawling Culver City estate, this unique neighborhood featured homes built on a smaller scale, complete with custom-designed interiors, fixtures, and amenities for the comfort of these special residents. The Dwarf Village community also came with its own amenities, including a mini grocery store, a small post office, and even a special bar where the studio could easily monitor the residents' every move. Most bizarre of all were the periodic height checks. MGM reportedly maintained a policy of only allowing actors under a certain height to live there, and anyone who failed the checks could be evicted. The isolated community lasted until the late 1950s, but its existence was kept so secret that many Hollywood historians were unable to confirm it until decades later, thanks to rare real estate records and surprising personal testimony from former residents. Buster Keaton is known as a silent comedy genius with a famous, unemotional face. But the strange thing is that his ability to endure pain, acrobatics, and face danger did not come from school, but from a childhood of torture on stage. His parents were vaudeville performers, and from the age of 3, Keaton became a living prop in his father's violent performances. He was often thrown against walls, spun in midair, and the audience laughed with glee because they thought it was acting. It is unbelievable that Keaton not only survived, but also developed extraordinary endurance, later becoming the king of stuntmen in his own stunts without a stunt double. In The General and Sherlock Jr., Keaton performed stunts so dangerous that today they would be banned for risking his life. But what is even stranger is that behind the glory of his unbridled creativity was a life that quietly descended into tragedy. When the big studios took control, Keaton lost his creative license, fell into depression and alcoholism. Once one of the 3 greatest comedians of the silent era, he ended the 1930s with his career all but in ruins. Only towards the end of his life was his talent recognized again. The story of Buster Keaton is more than just strange. It is a testament to the fragility of fame and the ability of genius to survive in an unforgiving world. So we have explored together the strange secrets of the golden age of Hollywood. Hope you enjoyed. Please comment your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and see you again.